this is going to be hard now, but he has shown me every other time things have come out better on the other side than what I even had intended. And so, I mean, I can think of that from like little things like when we first started, we didn't have enough tables and chairs, and somebody said, well, you need to get more tables and chairs. And I was like, we have no way to haul them. Like that's like 300 tables and chairs or whatever, not 300 tables, but a large amount. And he said, and this is a sweet friend and donor that's been with us forever. He said, you take care of the tables and chairs and I'll get the truck. And he went out and bought a truck for us, like that we haul all of our stuff.
Look
and
at
still
God.
today, and that was, I think, a month in.
As long as you're moving, like my mentor puts it this way, if it's God's will, it's his bill.
Yeah.
And to see like when you moved,
Yeah.
you didn't know how the chairs and stuff, or you didn't know how you're going to get the stuff there, but God knew I just needed to start moving.
Right.
And things were going to start taking place. Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith Ignite podcast, and we're so excited you decided to take a couple minutes out of your day to spend with us. And hey, if you're new here, I would ask that you do a few things for me. 1, hit that like button. 2, hit that subscribe button. 3, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And hey, if you want to become a financial partner of this ministry, you can go ahead and follow the link below. It'll take you to our website, and you can partner with us there to help us take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them, so they can know that God is true, God is real, and he's alive and doing things in the life of his children for those that choose to believe in him. And then lastly, hey, if something's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. Just go ahead and drop a comment below, reach out to us on social media, send us an email, however you want to do it, but just let us know what's going on so we know how we can stand in faith and in agreement with you, so that the things that you're believing in, we can be able to see those come to pass in your life. And so now that we have all that out of the way, today's guest, we had to schedule for a while, but I'm so grateful we're able to do it right now. Our guest, born and raised, or originally from, I'm getting it right, Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Yes.
She always knew that she always wanted to take care of people and serve others. And so she went ahead and she got her degree in nursing. So she was an ICU nurse for a couple of years, and then felt the call of God to do something more in her life. And so I think back in 2013, her and a few friends, they started an organization called the City Lights Foundation, or City Lights, that I know it as. And they go ahead and they help people. They help people with basic needs, essential needs, those that need to be able to be taken care of and helped for whatever hardship they may be enduring. So they go ahead and they meet practical needs and be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so you can find her, maybe a husband, maybe all 3 of her kids on a Thursday night serving in Tulsa, just being able to help people, love on them, and be able to share the love of God in a practical way. And so I'll let our guests go ahead and dive deeper into what it is that they do. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our guest, Mistress Sarah Grounds.
Hi. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, absolutely. So the $1 million question: who is Sarah Grounds?
That's the hardest question. I've been thinking about this question, and I think like the first thing I always think of with myself is a work in progress. I mean, that's who I am, is a work in progress. I think there's always room for learning and growth and change. And so I don't ever necessarily set myself into like one, this is who I'm going to be always. But there are definitely characteristics of myself that have been with me since I was a little girl that I still carry today. So when I think about myself, I think about, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm all of those things. But the characteristics of me, I think, are loyal, fierce, kind, and an advocate. And those are some of the things that I think that have always been with me since very little, when I was growing up, all the way up until now. So I still see those pieces of myself. So I think I'm all of those things, but also just really try to be open to learning and to hearing new perspectives and being willing to be flexible in some things where I can have some growth and become better.
So you said something interesting in that you always saw yourself as an advocate. Mm-hmm. And so being an advocate, like obviously I know because I know the backstory now, but how has that character trait shaped you into you being the person that you are today?
Yeah. Oh, that's hard too. I think, growing up, I was always the person who would care for people or really root for the underdog or kind of bring them alongside, that shows up in different ways all throughout my life, whether it be in my friendships or people that I felt compelled to care for or take care of growing up, or somebody that might be being bullied at school. A lot of times, like that was the person that I'm like, I'm going to take care of them, and then just even into nursing, just that caregiving and the advocate for making sure that people had good health care, that they were treated fairly regardless of what their story was. Especially I worked trauma neuro ICU, so a lot of people come in with a lot of different stories and hardships. And then just kind of into the work that I do today, I use that every single day in the way that I care for people and the way that I see them and the way that I approach different situations in the world. So it really, I mean, it has been something that's always been there. I think pieces of that I got from my parents. I feel, really lucky and privileged, and I recognize that privilege in having parents that were so incredibly good to me, and having all of those people around me, whether it was that community my parents had grown up in. So we were about 4 generations deep in that community.
Okay,
And so, we knew everybody. It's a small town. And I just had a lot of good people around me that had been part of our family in some way or shape forever. So I grew up in a place where a lot of people contributed to who I am today, and I don't think that could ever be denied.
Oh yeah. I think of when you were talking, I thought of a verse that talks about like the giftings. It was there's talks about like how some people have the gift to teach, some people have the gift to lead, some people have the gift to serve, and in your case, obviously, you have the gift, like you're gifted to serve in the capacity that you are. And so, how has serving, how has that kind of shaped the way that you express your faith? Because you come in, you walk alongside people of all different walks of life. They're experiencing all kinds of different things at the moment that you meet them. But then you have an opportunity to share your faith, share the love of God with them. And so how has the idea of you have this gift to serve, how has that helped to shape the way that you do things at City Light?
Yeah. I think it's really, and I think it comes from a lot of different places too, like just kind of thinking of where that has shown up in my life and where I have learned what that looks like to serve others. But I really, for me, it's an honor and it's a privilege. And it's not something necessarily that I feel, I do feel that it's a gift. Like I do feel like that's something that I'm good at and that I have developed, but it really started from other people that showed me what that looked like through care of me, through care of my family, through all of those pieces. And I just wanted to be able to pass those things that I had learned along to other people that had helped me, that had supported me, that had really lifted me up in times when I needed it. So for example, we had started this work, I've always, like, I can look back at people who have cared for our family where if somebody's been sick or, something happened and they needed people to bring a meal or things like that. Like I watched people do that for our family and for other people. And so like that was kind of ingrained in me. But then when I, before we started City Lights, I had a medical emergency and ended up in Boston. And I think for me, that really was a turning point. I wasn't a bad person. I was living a good life. I was doing all of the things, but I wasn't really necessarily doing them with a heart for others. And so during that time, we had an entire community of people that we went to church with, friends, family, blood family and unblood family, like all of the people just came around us and took care of us and lifted us up. That was a really scary time. We didn't know what the outcome would be, and people poured into us. And so coming in out of that, we were able to start refocusing and thinking about what does it look like to be community to other people? And we knew exactly what it looked like because so many people had done that for us. Yes. And so it's really just learning and paying attention, and what did that do for me, and how do I then maybe do that for somebody else, and maybe even take it a step farther and do it for somebody else that doesn't have community, that doesn't have all of the things that I was blessed with and had in that moment. And so that's really where we started looking at what do we do? Like, what do we do? Where are we going to change, and how are we going to shift to really be that community to somebody that maybe doesn't have one?
Yeah.
And that was really a shifting point for my entire family.
So even, I guess this is a great transition into that. So how did City Lights get started?
Yeah, so that's a big part of it. We came out of the hospital. I was in Boston for 2 weeks in the hospital there. We had people taking care of my kids here. Our kids were little at that time. And we had people that flew up there to be with us, to sit with my family while I was in surgery, lots of different things. But coming out of that, we started thinking about, what does this look like? And really felt it was just such a shift in us of like, okay, like I have a chance at health. I have a chance to do something with this, and I don't want to waste any time in being grateful and having gratitude for moving forward. My anniversary for that surgery was actually yesterday, weirdly enough.
Wow.
So 14 years ago. So we started looking. My husband saw a documentary that featured a place in Portland, Oregon that was serving under a bridge. And so he showed it to me, and I was like, this is it. I mean, we just knew. It wasn't even a question. It was just like, this is it. About that same time, I had a friend that had been a friend for about 15 years who had went to Portland and was doing some mission work there, and Liz posted on Facebook that she had been to this incredible thing under a bridge.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, that doesn't feel like a coincidence,
Yeah.
And so I called her up and said, would you be interested in seeing if there's something in Tulsa or creating something? She said yes. So I started calling around, and we really had just doors closed. People were like, we have our own thing. We got a lot of, it's dangerous for females to work with people experiencing homelessness. A lot of that, and felt really, really discouraged, honestly. It was just a moment of discouragement. Like, I really feel like this is what we're supposed to be doing, but it feels like all these doors are just kind of shutting.
Yeah.
And so we kind of took a step back, and my family spent probably the next year, well, it was about a year, just going out, and we would walk around and talk to people about once a month, or sometimes we had socks to hand to people. Sometimes we had a sandwich, it was just lots of different things.
Yeah.
And then a year later, for my oldest son, Ben, for his 8th birthday, he didn't want to have a party. He wanted to take all of his friends downtown and feed people.
Wow.
And so I was of little faith and was like, oh man, maybe Star Wars, right? Like, let's just do Star Wars, because these parents are not going to let me take their 7 and 8 year olds downtown to be around people experiencing homelessness. And so I had a lady at church that I had known for a long time, and she said, you really should listen to him and just get as close as you can and just trust it and don't extinguish his fire. And I listened. And so from that, we took those kids down, and every single one of the parents let them go. And it was just so beautiful, because, kids just have such a different lens for service. And so, they're trying to hand a business guy in his suit a sandwich the same as somebody that obviously really needs food. And it was hilarious, because the business guys did not know what to do with that. But it was great. And so after that, we were in charge of a group at church, and I just thought, we're just going to do this again. And so from that group, we were walking back. It was a really big group. There were 2 groups. My husband was in one, I was in the other. And when we got in the car, we were just talking about how incredible that experience was, and that people in those groups kept saying, like, we want to do this more often. And I knew that I wanted to do something, but I didn't want it to be random. I wanted it to be really intentional and thoughtful, and where people would know where to go, and consistent, and these pieces of it. And so I called up my friend and I said, hey, we took a large group out. I think we have people in there that would maybe be our core team.
Okay.
And are you interested? And she said, yeah. And so we just jumped in, and we spent that was in June, I think. And so from June to September, we met every week and pulled that team together, and everybody had a job, and we didn't know what we were doing. And we just started learning, and we figured out like where we would be and what we needed. We called Portland. They're dear friends now, our friends in Portland, who were just so generous with their knowledge and experience. And that's where we started. And so in September of 2013, we had our first night under the bridge. We had I laugh because it was about 1-to-1 volunteer to guest. Yeah. So there's about 30 guests and 30 volunteers. And then the next week we tripled in numbers. And so now we serve about 300 to 350 people every week, and then have anywhere from 50 to 100 volunteers. So, yeah. So it's crazy. I never imagined that it would be what it is. But I think that sometimes that is a gift, right? Like, I think that's one of God's gifts that he doesn't give you the full picture necessarily at the beginning because it would be too scary. And so you just get pieces as you're ready to like digest that and be stretched to the next move. And so people are like, they ask me all the time, like, could you imagine that this is what, where you would be and what you'd be doing? And I can't. Sometimes I still can't believe the things that I'm able to be a part of. But I do think that that's a gift, and it allows us to be present in the moment and to take what's coming at us kind of as we can handle it and really be thoughtful about the work that we get to do. Yeah.
And there's a comment saying like how faith is like a staircase. You go one step at a time. Yeah. And like if you saw what you would be doing now back in 2013, you'd be like, how? The first question you ask, how? Where's the money going to come from? Where are we going to get all the resources? Like that's the first question you generally will ask. How? Yeah. But God knew if I show her this now, she will not do it. She'll try to figure out and calculate and overanalyze how to get it done. So let me just show her the first step, which started with a documentary. Yeah. And then from there, calling your friend in Portland and to see like how it all started. But one thing interesting that you talked about was how when you decided to act on the word and be able to act on what God was calling you to do, then you were met with a lot of adversity. And so talk to me about that time where like you felt that God was calling you to do this, but everything in the natural was saying, you missing it. You doing this on your own. Like, this is not what God is calling you to do. You're messing up. Like, talk to me about that. Yeah.
I would say that has been an ongoing thing over the past over 12 years now of this work. Like, there's always adversity. And I now can approach that with a different lens just because I've experienced. But I know during those very beginning years, every time we were faced with that, it was really hard. It was really hard to be like, okay, this is worth it. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm just going to stay steady and trust this and trust God through this. I think that has been a learning process for me. Still, sometimes I struggle with it. But what I have seen is every time we've come up on something, every single time, we come out better on the other side. And I think that that's a faithfulness that's allowed. You know, the Bible talks about a peace that passes understanding. Yeah. And I feel like there are places where I can see that now, whereas in the past I definitely could not see that. Where I know like this is going to be hard now, but He has shown me every other time things have come out better on the other side than what I even had intended. And so, I mean, I can think of that from like little things like when we first started, we didn't have enough tables and chairs, and somebody said, well, you need to get more tables and chairs. And I was like, we have no way to haul them, like that's like 300 tables and chairs or whatever, not 300 tables, but a large amount. And he said, and this is a sweet friend and donor that's been with us forever. He said, you take care of the tables and chairs and I'll get the truck. And he went out and bought a truck for us, like that we haul all of our stuff. Look and still God. Today, and that was, I think, a month in, all the way to where we had, pushback from the city. And we at that time, we were just pulling money out of our pockets, trying to figure out how we were going to provide for the meal every week. And the city's like, you've got to pay for a permit. You've got to You've got to have security. You've got to have, portable restrooms, and you've got to have barricade, all these things. And I'm thinking, how are we going to pay for that? There's no way. Like, that's crazy. And through that process, we had to get creative, and we had to stop and think, like, how can we do this? And it was an invitation for others to come alongside. Wow. We put in our sponsorships, and now we have churches and businesses and individuals and families that now sponsor the night, which is an invitation to them to be a part of that. And so last year we mobilized over 5,000 people serving with us under the bridge. And what a gift that is, right? Yeah. And it helps us not only be able to provide, but it invites people in to learn more about our neighbors that don't look like them, and to really mitigate some of the stigmas that go along with homelessness, so that we can have a more holistic view of who our neighbor is and what they're dealing with. And so there's just been things, developing villages. We've dealt with, Not in My Backyard and NIMBY and things like that. And we're just always learning. But I think just remaining steady and faithful in the work that's in front of us, which hasn't always been easy, but we've always seen the other side of that, where there's been growth in learning. Yeah. So,
man, that is such a blessing. Like, to see, like, as long as you're moving, like, my mentor puts it this way: if it's God's will, it's His bill. Yeah. And to see, like, when you moved, you didn't know how the chairs and stuff, or you didn't know how you're going to get the stuff there, but God knew. I just needed to start moving. Right. And things were going to start taking place. And so, like, I'm just curious, like, after you guys have served night after night after night on Thursdays, like, what are some of the life-changing stories that you guys would have experienced under the bridge, having those conversations and meeting people experiencing homelessness?
Well, I mean, I think for me, and I share this story quite often, it's probably, for me, it was a pivotal moment under the bridge, and it came very early on. So we wash feet under the bridge when the weather is appropriate. And so that's been something that from the beginning, we picked that up from Portland, washing feet. And I was just intrigued by it. And I'm like, why do you do this? How do you do this? We're talking about bringing water out, and you've got, gray water, and how do you get rid of it? All the different things. There's like some logistics to that actually happening. And so when we first started, and I've got, Jesus washing feet, and that's a piece of it. And also my nursing, because I'm a nurse on the other side. Yeah. And so just the health of people, our friends are on their feet day in and day out, usually in not good socks, good shoes, things like that. And so for me, it's kind of like a double piece of importance. But I think when we started it, I was the one that was in charge of that station. And so we had the very beginning, we would set that station up. People would go get food first, right? Because food's more important. And nobody knew what that was. And so I would walk around and I would ask people, hey, do you want me to wash your feet? And they were like, no, I don't. Like, it was like, no, thank you. And so I got to this one table, and this guy in his 20s, he was like, sure. And I was like, oh no. Like,
he said yes.
I don't know what I'm doing. And so he came over. I was the only person running that station because it was early on and we didn't have a bunch of volunteers out with us yet. Yeah. And so he sat down, and I kneeled down and I washed his feet. And the whole time he was just telling me about his life. His street name was Hurricane. He and his family had lost everything in Katrina and had ended up here. And so, but he was living on the streets, and he was just, had seen stuff and experienced things, and was just really just telling me about all of the things. I didn't know what to say because I had not experienced those things, and had not been around people experiencing homelessness enough at that point to even know what to say. And so I just listened, which I think is a huge lesson in itself. You don't have to make up the words. You just listen. People just want to be heard. And so I finished up, and I was still like on my knees, and I looked up at him, and I patted him on the knee, and I looked him in the eye, and I said, thank you for your time. And he immediately diverted his eyes away and he said, I hate eye contact. You're making me so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh no, then I'm like not looking at him and I'm like, oh, and I said, I'm so sorry. You're all finished up. You're good to go. And he went on his way. And I just really had this week-long moment of, I thought I was called into this. What am I doing? I have no idea. Who am I to sit here and do any of this? I don't know anything. And really lamented over just the fact that I wanted this to be a safe place for people, and he didn't feel safe in that moment. And it was a real struggle. So the next week we come back, and of course, after that story, nobody's volunteering to wash feet. It's mine. I've now owned it. And so I set up, people are getting their food and everything, and I see Hurricane from the corner of the bridge, and he walks in, and he walks straight up to me, and he looks me in the eye, and he said, sit down, now it's your turn. And he washed my feet.
Wow.
And I think for me, that was, it was such a pivotal moment in I don't have to have all of the answers. I don't have to know everything. I just have to show up and I just have to be willing to be used and to listen. And also, how powerful is it that lesson came to me from somebody that was experiencing homelessness to teach it, Yeah. And we had a long friendship for a lot of years after that. I don't know where he's at now, but man, the lessons that he taught me over that period of time and his willingness to be uncomfortable and to still come back and lean back into relationship was really, really powerful. And I think for me, that was our first month under the bridge. Yeah. And, it really set me up to be okay not having all the answers and just being present with our friends. So.
Wow. You learn so much when you serve. Yeah. My mentor teaches, you would never truly know your gift unless you serve. When you're serving someone, that's when you get to see what you're capable of doing. And to see the work that you guys do day in and day out, man, it's a blessing. Because some people, they experience a rough patch in life where they're like, man, I just wish someone would help. Yeah. And you get to be the hands and feet of Jesus and help them in a practical way. And so I'm super grateful for the work that you guys do.
Well, thank you.
And so if someone wants to get involved, how can they get involved? How can they help? What can they do what is it you guys do?
So many things. I think I always say the first thing is just to see our neighbors, I think we see people across Tulsa that are experiencing hardship, whether it be homelessness or whether it be just really struggling to put food on the table for their kids and for themselves. There's so many areas. And so just to be aware and looking for our neighbors and to acknowledge them. And I think that's the first place. For us with City Lights, we have our Nightlight Tulsa program, which is under the bridge. It's every Thursday. Okay. We always have volunteers out there. It's very easy. It's age friendly. So we have, babies strapped to their mama all the way to I think the oldest that we've had is 97 in a wheelchair. Wow. So it's very friendly for all of those ages and places and people. And it's a great way to just, if you are nervous and don't know where to start, it's a great place to lean in. Yeah. And so at that program, we always provide a meal. We have lots of different stations, essential items, clothing, haircuts, foot washing, all of the different things. One of the stations is just hosting, and we're just really making sure that every person that walks under that bridge has somebody say hello to them. And, maybe they sit down and have a meal together or whatever. So there's a lot of different areas that you can serve under there. Always, sponsoring a night, donating the items that we need. We keep those pretty fresh on our social media, what's needed. Okay. And then we also have, because we've grown, we have our housing stability program. So we have neighbors in apartments across 40 different apartment complexes in Tulsa, really helping to maintain their stability. Wow. So there's lots of different things we do with them that are fun, and just helping maintain their stability in housing so that they're not back on the
Yeah.
street. And then we're working on our City Lights Village, which is super exciting.
Yes.
So that's permanent supportive housing here in Tulsa, which is so, so needed. There are about 1,200 people in Tulsa waiting on that list, and we really think about them as living and dying on that list because we don't have housing available. So we're working to build that housing, and there's lots of ways to get involved there, financially, donating, and then pretty soon when we open in the early fall, lots of volunteer opportunities there as well. So yeah. We're busy.
I can tell you, there's a great need.
Yes.
Obviously, there is. If you have a 1,200 person wait list, that obviously says there's a great need for it. And so, Sarah, one way we always like to end every episode is this: if you could go back to your younger self, or someone that's listening or watching from this podcast, what would you tell them?
Well, little Sarah was pretty stubborn, so she probably wouldn't listen to anything. But I think what I would tell myself and others, really two things. One, I think I would tell people that it's all teaching. Like, you're learning all of the time. And so it's easy to get distracted or upset or disappointed when things are not going well or when you're facing those challenges. I'm an Enneagram 8, so I like to be in control and, all of the things. But I think when I look back, goodness, some of the hardest things I went through were building character and pieces of me that are so important and that I use every day now. And so just it's learning. And so to just take a breath and walk through it, that would be one thing. And then the second thing I would say is to always look for the opportunity to invite others. And I think that has been huge for me. And it was advice from our friends in Portland from the very beginning when we were like, I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't know how we're going to pay for this. I don't know how we're going to, all of the things. And he said to me, ask 3 times. He said, give opportunity for other people to be a part. And that's been a really great piece of advice that I go back to very, very frequently. Yeah.
Sarah Grounds, ladies and gentlemen. Sarah, thank you so much for taking some time to share, honestly, the work that you guys do, how it got started, the ups and downs, the hills, the valleys, all of it. I really, really appreciate it, because now I'm seeing, like, now in the back of my mind, like, you plan to see, like, to always be mindful, who is I'm coming in contact with, how can I help, how can I serve, so on and so forth. So thank you so much for sharing just a little bit of your time, first off, but also your story and how you guys, the work that you guys do.
Well, thank you guys so much. And thanks for sharing this with the world.
Oh, absolutely.
We always need more people pushing the goodness and everything into our world. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wrap this episode up. But like I said in the beginning, hey, if this podcast has helped you, shaped you, encouraged you, motivated you, ignited your faith, hey, I would ask you to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And then if you want to become a financial partner, just follow the link below. It'll take you to our website, and you can partner with us there. And then lastly, if something's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. Just go ahead and send or drop a comment below, send us an email, write us a letter. However you want to do it, just let us know what's going on so we can be informed and be updated and know how we can be standing and praying for you in this time. And so we're going to have to wrap this episode up. But like I said in the beginning, hey, we would love for you to continue to tune back in every single week so your faith can be ignited. And so my name is Devon Williamson, and this has been Faith Ignite. We'll see you guys next time.